Oh, what a wonderful day it is, Outliers. Niyama Shang here, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. Welcome back to the Outliers Edge podcast, where we go and bring together outliers who are doing things their own way and on their own path, and really explore how they've taken that to up level into trailblazing and making the path that's easier for others to be able to find success on as well. All right. I'm excited for the people we brought on here today to share a bit about how they navigate their outlier journey and how they're currently continuing to grow as outliers and trailblazers themselves. Why don't we give you a chance to get to know them here? The first one here we have Laurie and Chelsea here today. Thank you both for making the time to come on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Glad
Yeah,
you're here.
thank you very much.
So Laurie, why don't we start with you? Let's give outliers a chance to get to know you. Would you mind sharing more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Hmm. Well, I don't know if I'm kind of in the later stages of your usual guess. I have no idea. However, I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, and the reality is that everything always changes. And I think I've known that kind of forever, but it's, in this last period, and I don't even know how long that is, that I've become more comfortable with navigating change. So it's, you use the word navigation, and so for me it's navigating how I do what I do, but it's very much more, what is it that I'm here to offer to the world right now? And then the how. And both of those are, I can only know in my own connection with my own inner guidance system. And that's my work, but that's my life.
Like this, I like this here. I'm glad that you're here. I'll expand on that a little bit. Part of what I like about that, Laurie, is that you've given us a chance to get to know how you be, not just what you do.
Mm.
And so I appreciate that overall. Thank you. Cool. Chelsea, how about you? Well, let us know more about you and the game you're currently playing.
Well, how do I say? I'm basically working full time at the same time. I'm also doing authoring on the side. So I've been writing for a couple of years anyway. Mostly been doing it self-publishing, and as I get inspired, then I start producing, and that's I do. I like doing that though. Because, doing the full-time career sometimes it's not very exciting.
Yeah, it's really fun because we've gotten some chance to talk in the past, Chelsea, and like when you see like you start producing, like how many books are you up to right now?
Oof, more than 80.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, can we
Laura,
Well,
ask can
I'm an
we ask
ideas
questions?
person.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm an ideas person, like you were saying. Like once idea comes in, I have to write it. I have to produce it, even if it's just a cover for now, I'll do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura, like
Yeah, well,
let's keep this an open conversation because the questions you
sure, sure,
have, I'm sure
sure.
outliers have them too. So what's going on through your mind?
Well, I've created something called the quantum connection process, and in that it limits all of that to, which is the broadest, but to four styles and or four archetypes. And so you just talked about being an idea person. You said, did you say 80? Did I hear you right?
I said over 80.
That's what I thought you said. Okay, so beyond blowing my mind, um, I've been a part of several collective texts, and I've done a lot of writing, but I'm about to publish my first solo book in June.
Hmm.
And so as an idea person, that is where inspiration comes. I mean, that you're following the thread of inspiration. And I one of the things that's so interesting to me is, how does one stay connected to inspiration all the way through the manifestation process? And it's something that I have been working on and teaching people how to do, but I'm really curious about how that is for you.
Well, actually, for me, the basis is faith. Like I have a faith that I believe in, And that's where the inspiration comes. And then sometimes other people, they might be talking about a topic and I'll be like, and then I'll be starting to think, oh, I want to write about that. And then I will start doing, that's how I get the ideas and I start producing. Even if I don't know the topic, I will start looking into it and finding out and start making it. Because for me, the children's books is the quickest one I can produce.
Mhm.
And people have asked me, like, how long does it take you to produce a book? I'll be like, to be honest, I can do it very fast. The thing is it the best? May not be. Because it's all self-produced. That means nobody else is helping me do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
ideas are very quick sometimes, but the quality may not always be there. That's the only thing.
At
But
the
the people
beginning.
who read it, they've
Mhm.
told me like they like it, even though it's not the bestseller, but still they said, oh, the ideas inside of it, they loved it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's catching me right here is like I'm listening to language, right? So Chelsea talks production and producing, and Laura, your thing was like from idea to manifestation, right? And bring that out there. I'm curious about how you bring your ideas out and bring them out into manifestation, Laura, because you've been saying you've been playing this game for a long time. You talked about the quantum connection process here. Tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about like your creation process.
So whether it's creating a new program or or creating what I want to make for dinner tonight, it's about going inside, getting quiet. Maybe dinner isn't quite done that deliberately.
I have two young kids, so I'm like getting quiet during dinner. Like, okay,
I
good.
understand. I understand.
Yeah.
I have just my second grandson and second grandchild was just born this week.
Oh,
So I'm very
congratulations.
tuned into what my daughter and son-in-law are experiencing this week with two very little ones. So for me, it's about tuning into our connection with Source, tuning into the fact that we are nothing by ourselves and we're everything in that place of co-creation. And so the idea comes in and I might not be even thinking about it. And first I have to see, is it mine? Is it mine to do? Because not every idea I have is for me. Sometimes it's for someone else. Sometimes it's it's not, excuse me, it's not the right timing for it. But then if it is something that I am to manifest, if I am to, produce, to use Chelsea's word, um, then it's taking the time to go into it and asking the questions of myself, of that interconnection, to really be able to bring through what is it that's needed, who's it for, um, who's to be part of that if there's somebody to be part of that, and then all the details start to get fleshed out, and to know how to trust my own connection with the energy of that project, and to feel when it's on, when I just go into, oh well, this is a great idea, so I'm going to do it, but to keep myself connected all the way through with that essence of inspiration.
So I'm gonna just do a quick follow up on this, and I want to see how it goes on. Um, you talked about like this is a great idea, and then you talked about but to keep yourself connected. And I am curious about what happens when what has been your experience of having the great ideas without connection, and what happens when you have connection without great ideas. I'm really
Yeah,
curious about like what happens with one without the other.
yeah, that's a great question. When I have what seems like a great idea and then I start running with it, that for me is what I think of as my ego. And it's like it's doing all the things I already know. I have a well-developed intellectual and analytical brain and capacity. But I also know that it's doing what I've always done. And if I want to bring something new, if I want to bring this, what seems to be a new idea to the forefront, I need to go beyond what I already know, which means I need to tap in more deeply, because when I don't, I burn out or I get overwhelmed, or I feel like, darn, I'm just doing it myself. And like you mentioned that, Chelsea, and that can be exhausting. And it's not that there are other ways to do things. There are other ways to play the game, to use your words, Niyama. Um, and that feels so much more expansive and supported and in flow.
Yeah, that feels good. Chelsea, I'm curious for you, like what as Laurie says this, like what's coming up for you, right? Like uh is there yeah, let me ask the question that way.
Sometimes I get stuck, right? I can't think of an idea, so then I have to take a break.
Mhm.
So what I used to do before when I don't have any inspiration, I will just spend some time, listening to music, doing some doing other things basically in order to trigger something to come to flow, right? But sometimes if it really doesn't come, I just have to take a break and just relax, just rest, because I do have my moments where I will continuously produce and then I will get tired, or I will continuously do something and then I will be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I gotta stop. I need to take a break. But then sometimes for me, if the break is too long, it becomes difficult to get back into the routine. Because then I have to tell my brain, okay, you need to go back and be productive again. You cannot continue to be dragging. So I have to motivate myself to go back to produce again. So the thing is for me, I think the issue is the balance. Being able to balance both the production and the relaxation.
Yeah, when you say that, it makes me think about like capacity, right?
Mhm.
And to when like at first my mind went to like I heard balance and I think about work-life balance and then like generally speaking like that's not yeah like I don't necessarily subscribe to that anymore and what was coming up for me was like it just brought up this feeling of like capacity in terms of like okay what is my capacity to hold right now what's my capacity to be with multiple things here and what is like how are these things in relationship with each other like whatever and the things being like I actually like mentally envision like multiple tanks up right and it's like the father tank and the entrepreneur tank and then the personal tank and so on and so forth and be like how are all these things calibrated and working with each other curious how you all think about it see how curious how you all like experience that but that was an imagery that came up to me as you were saying that Chelsea.
Mm. Yeah, I've had times where I've been, experiencing like a burnout stage in my life, and it's just so exhausting that I just have to just take a break. And then you don't have any other options because your body is just doesn't have the strength, so it has to rest.
So, and like, so Laura, I'm going to come to you on this one here. You talked about like
Mm.
burnout, overwhelm, and just doing it yourself, and like, at the same time, you talked about like you've been doing this game for a while, right? And so there's things that you've been building that have allowed you to continue going and building the capacity and so forth here. So, what like to the extent that it would serve, would you mind sharing some of like the things that you have found that like help you, like to stay in the game throughout your process?
Mm. Yeah, sure. The biggest thing is the recognition that I do have this connection, that I am not separate and alone. And with that connection doesn't end. That connection is limitless. When I feel overwhelmed or burnt out, it's because I've forgotten. I've forgotten it, and I'm not opening to it. And so I stop. I mean, Chelsea, you just mentioned that about I need to take a break. But then I'm not crazy about balance either. I mean, the concept of balance, because balance is impossible. You've got to be always adjusting, moving, navigating, seeing what I'm to do here, seeing what I'm to do there. And in that, I find that I've learned how to follow that energy flow. So yeah, it's like sometimes in the middle of the day, it's oops, nope. I need to go, maybe it's take a walk, or I need to go lie down. I need to get quiet. And always from that place of how is it that I'm needing to tune in again? And so I'm not trying to push myself to finish the project. I'm allowing myself to open the door to what is available. And in doing that, oh, here's this new idea or new way through what had been a problem a half hour ago. And I find that tuning in that way allows me to prioritize in a very different way than using some external metric for determining that.
It's fun actually hearing you talk, Laurie, because like what's going on inside of me, and as you're saying, is a couple different things. One, it's like, I trust you, right? And the element of trust here, I was thinking to myself, like why did that come up? Like what is that about? And I feel like it's I get that you're grounded in like the external, you know how to get things done in the external, um, and yet you still choose to start with the internal,
Yeah.
you know. And I think there's something about that is that strikes me, especially you all are catching me at a time right now where I'm moving more into I had been very internal focused for so long, and that I wasn't seeing the external results. So then I went and I started focusing on the external. The results weren't that different than the internal, and it was a lot better. It was a lot more fun on it, like because I was fun and fulfilling, I would say, right? A lot more fun and fulfilling every step of the way, as opposed to like, oh well, it'd be worth it. Like in the future, it'd be worth it, but right now, it doesn't really feel it. So I'm curious for you all here, and like let's do it in the context here of Laura, you brought up earlier doing what you've already done and to bring something new to the forefront. I'm curious about how bringing something new, like bringing something to life that was coming from within you. How do you keep finding ways to up level what you've done and continue to raise your game as you're out there in a way that like
Mhm.
feels really like natural to you. Laura, why don't we start with you, then we'll go to you, Chelsea, on this one.
I could probably use what's going on right now as a great example of that. Because and I don't even know how I'm going to answer what your question is. It's a great question. Um, so as I think got mentioned, this book is coming out, I think in June. It's called Unconditional Remembrance: Your Connection to Source. And even before this book was, where it is right now, but during this whole process, I had this sensing that I was to do these salons of life in people's homes, in their living rooms, where they invite people all around the world. And it was a kind of, I don't know if I can say this on here or not. You can bleep me if, okay, a kind of a holy shit moment. Not, I mean, I've done a lot of travel and a lot of teaching for years and years and years and years, decades. But somehow this felt even more on the edge, really on the edge. Like, who's going to have me? How am I going to get there? Who's going to come? But the what I was going to do really wasn't in question. And that was because really this was given to me to do. And as I've been with it more and more, I see more of why and what it's for and what it's about. And it really is about opening people up to that their own inner connection, so that we go beyond separation, so that we can tap into our own creative intelligence and use it. And and so this is a continual up leveling of what I've been doing. I've been teaching programs around connecting with your inner guidance system, around quantum co-creation. I call myself a quantum connection mentor. And this feels like, oh, wait, no, you don't really mean I'm supposed to of a worldwide movement, do you? I don't think I want to know the answer to that because it could be really scary. And I can feel the edge of that where I think, I don't know. But when I am with that group of people and just listen and allow, it's pretty magical. And I get to do that every week in my Tereya meditation sessions that I do online. Yet this is a whole other thing. And so I don't know, did that answer your
I don't
question?
like, so there's, it's an interesting thing about my space, and maybe Outliers, you can give me feedback about how you feel about this for the podcast side of things, but like this is my space and this is how I choose to go with it. Um, I I ask questions to get a response,
Mhm.
right? But it's not to get an answer.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
like, and the real thing here is like, is there's something real and true to you, right? That just came out in here. And how do I say it? I've learned through the years of coaching and connection and beyond that, like what I think might be an amazing outcome may be the least important thing that comes out of that experience. You know, I ask everyone what was your biggest insight, and people come out they're like, yeah, that first when you sent me that first email, I knew that I was like, oh, so it had nothing to do with this. This is like you already gotten what you need.
Mhm.
So in a very real way, Laurie, I'll ask questions, and if I need to come back in, I'm like, I think you need that. I think you need to go
Okay.
back and answer that. We'll do it. But I'm very curious about, I'm very interested, not even curious, but I'm very interested in how you hear things and how you choose to interpret it and then what that brings forth, because it brings forth more than what I could even imagine to ask. And I have a lot of curiosity to come in. So I hope you're good with that. It can be a bit annoying, I admit, but welcome to my space. I guess I'm a bit annoying in certain circumstances, but um, I think that life is just not so open, and especially when you're walking your own path. Like I think it's me trying to live in integrity. It's like outliers walk their own paths, and it's a path that only you've walked, you know. And so we're gonna play it. This got a little bit more meta and more philosophical than you might have expected from it, but like that is that's the way I choose to play the game, you know. Can you do me a favor? I'm going to go to Chelsea again. Even forget the original question, but I'm curious what you heard from what I just said there. This one's for you, Laurie.
Oh, sorry. I thought you
Yeah.
had said,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I totally, it's just like, yep, yep. That's how I roll.
Okay.
And so, in my asking you, I don't know if that answered the question or stay saying that was really more about how did that land for you? And you just told me how it landed for you, and I appreciate that very much.
Awesome. Awesome. I like that. I like to be able to play a bit in that space there. So thank you, Laurie. Like we get to have, I realized that in the past I've been like kind of like trying to converge over the things, and I think that the real space of my world, of up leveling and of outliers is actually like, can we create more room for you to do even more of what it is that you want? Because
Yes.
like we can't, we're not in the business of telling you exactly what needs to get done or how to do it. Like we'll leave that for most people who are going for like the middle. But for us outliers, it's more about like how much more space, how much more permission can I give myself to do
Mhm.
my own thing?
Yeah.
And if I can get myself out of the way of stopping myself
Mhm.
from that, then I can actually create. That's why, Chelsea, when you said you have like 80 books, it always puts a smile on my face, because it's like most other people will be like, you need to have this, you need to have something like that. Like, it's not even like I love volume. Like that's one of my outliers edge overall. I'm like, oh, like why can't we do it times like, XYZ. But I also think about it, I'm like, oh, like it bucks conventional wisdom and it works for you. And you're choosing to like you keep choosing to do what works for you. So any thoughts on that, Chelsea? I want to make sure that like I give a chance to there. I remember the original question I asked to Laurie, so I can bring that back too. But any thoughts on that or anything that have any part of the exchange so far?
Um, well, Laurie's more on the complex side, I'm more on the simple side. So I don't use big words and stuff like
Yay
that.
for simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
And
Yeah, so um, because I'm in this kind of stage where I'm trying to how do I say it in a more lighter way? Like I don't really feel like I'm fully reaching my potential, basically,
Mm,
because I'm kind of stuck in a mode at this point in my life. Like I've had friends that tell me like, you need to spend more time like basically with my beliefs. I'm supposed to be praying and all that stuff. And because life has gotten me busy, it's been hard for me. And basically the books is one way where I can, be free to be creative and get some joy back into my life because the job is very dry. It's very dry. It's like nothing exciting about it. I get very bored very easily. So for me to be able to produce as much as I like, it makes me happy. People may not always like what I produce, but the thing is to me, it's like I like it. As long as I like it, I'm happy with that. And I want, people to be able to enjoy them, of course. I want them, to learn something from the books. Because people sometimes they criticize like, oh, why you don't use some illustrations more because this is a kid's book. There's supposed to be illustrations in the book. And I'm thinking, well, for one thing, I'm a self-published author. I don't have a big budget. I don't have money to spend on an illustrator. So where am I going to get the assets from? I'm going to get it from the free sites. And the free sites are limited. So eventually I have to take another route because of the way publishing is working now. They check for copyright and licensing. So now I go the AI route, which I hate. I do not like
mm,
it. But that's the only way now I can get graphics for free. So I take that route only for that cause so that I can have my books finished and it looks professional versus me using free images, which sometimes the graphics looks horrible. Because I look at it and I said, no, I hate that. And then I have to redo my book. So I've had to fix some books because the quality was not there. And once I learn, oh, this site, that site, and start using AI, eventually my books become better and better and better. So that's how I go about, production and staying, like that. Like I used to spend a lot more time um seeking, receiving, resting, because that's actually the energy. Like she's saying about energy. So that's my energy. My energy is coming from another source, from a higher source.
Mhm.
So that is my inspiration of how I produce and stuff like that. Otherwise, if I just do it on my own, I don't have the ability to produce. Yeah, I can get ideas from other people, but then the thing is, what's the difference of me versus that person producing something? Unless there's content in there that somebody needs that they don't have in their books. So I try to create something that has more value to it, that will help the person. Um, I don't know how do you say it, but you know what I mean. Like it has more added value to it,
yep.
basically.
I
Yeah,
appreciate y'all.
yeah,
Go ahead,
Chelsea, I
Laurie.
love that. We're right in sync with coming from a different source, or it's source, period. It's yeah, it's not coming from my own personal will.
Yeah, that's why people ask, like, how you produce so many books. That's how I produce my books.
Mhm.
It's because of the unlimited source.
Right.
I love that because like there's something even when you say unlimited, it's like what gets me there. I love to like look at different frames where it's like it's only 80 books. Like this is an unlimited source, and all I've done is brought 80 of it to life. Like it's like there's more. There's a whole lot more. This is only just the fraction of it as it goes out there. I love Outliers. I'm going to invite you in that. Where's a place right now where like when you think about source and the unlimitedness of it all, right? Where you might be able to give yourself more permission to lean more into both the thing that is right for you and the way that is right for you to do it, as well as just how much of it you want to do. I get tickled, Laurie, and I found myself actually having like a real curiosity around this living room like sessions that you're having, right? I think that would you mind sharing with us more about it? Like, like themselves, who you see who come to these kinds of sessions, I get really curious about like how what is this idea that you just came up with, and how are you bringing it out to life? And cause I have a lot of, I spend a lot of time in the world with coaches and entrepreneurs who are creating their own world. And, a lot of them come to me like, oh, I would love to travel and do all these other things with it. And, um, I have had a lot of exposure to people who have created in their businesses and beyond ways to like they just created an opportunity and a path to be able
Hmm.
to travel and do all this here. So I think it'd actually be really helpful for any outlier that's listening here to get like just a general sense as to like how did Laurie decide to go about it? It's like I have this thing, got it from infinite source, like let's go play with it. Do you mind sharing more about it?
I'll try. Because it as much as I do love to travel, and it's true. The last of these salons I did was in Paris. Um, it's I didn't say, oh, I love to travel. How could I do this? It really was more of in one of those moments of it was given. It was, people use the term downloaded, but I wasn't even trying for this. It was just like this came in, and I was like, okay, okay, what does that look like? And then I started dialoguing because one of the things that we can do is to have a dialogue with that infinite, unlimited source. What does this look like? Am I to do it alone? Who are the people? Where are the places I'm to go? And those kind of questions, so that it wasn't me deciding that. It wasn't me looking at a map and saying, okay, I'd like to see, I don't know, wherever. Um, it was where does the energy that is coming with this, where does that need to be brought to? And I think it's really similar, Chelsea, to what is happening for you when you say, I've got this idea. And there's such joy that comes with it. When there's joy, even if there's, a little nervousness or whatever, that to me is one of those determining factors. And if I can be so bold, if you give me one more minute for this is I want to suggest, Chelsea, that you ask about who, or at least open the door to an illustrator that might want to work with you. You've already said, oh, I don't have the funds, I'm self-published, blah, 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 blah. You just limited. And we're talking about something unlimited. Don't limit it, because there might be somebody out there saying, I've got all these ideas for illustrations, if only. So that's what I want to, that's the grace I was asking for just now, is just to be able to say that. Yeah. Mm.
I'm not in any rush to say anything afterwards here because uh, this is the game, right? Laurie, I'm grateful for you right now and this year, where you for you bringing that in. Uh, Two fronts. One, I'm glad that you played the game that you played. I'm like, there's no grace needed, all that stuff. Like we're co-creating this space. This conversation is our conversation. But my only job is to create a space and then invite people to it. And then I'm basically done. So however if we ended up just doing a dance party for the last 40 minutes, then that was what this episode was, right? But I really appreciate you bringing that in and just like and why is this important to me? One, I feel like you demonstrated for outliers what it's like to not just sit on an idea or to sit in a place, or not to like say like, is it my turn? Is it my space? Do I have the permission? But instead, you created it for yourself when you stepped into it, in a way that was in alignment with you. And we can talk about it, but I have a lot of open-endedness in my space because I'm like, I want things to just happen so we can see that it's possible, you know, see that it's possible. So I'm grateful for that. The second thing I'm grateful for is I'm like, yeah, Chelsea, I'm so much with Laurie on this where I'm just like, you've already created 80 books. Like you've already done what most people will consider to be impossible. Most people will never create one book. And most people will hear things from source, and not and like and like be in their faith, but then deny themselves it.
Mhm.
You know, they won't allow themselves to actually go and produce. So I love Laurie's question here, and maybe we're all brought together here for this reason here of like how can we continue to keep the channel open? You know, I was like, oh great, thank you for inspiring me with the theme of what this book is. Can you also inspire me with who I can work with to to do this? Like there's no reason to stop it. You know, it's unlimited. I thought that was a really I love work. I love tapping into what's already there and saying like, why, like, what if we just did more? What if we kept expanding on it? Would love to get thoughts from either one of you, and then we'll start wrapping up for today.
Actually, in answer to Laurie's comment, I did actually have my sister do a few like illustrations for some of the books, only because she actually is an illustrator.
Ooh.
Um, but there's a reason why I don't ask her to illustrate every book.
Yeah. Family's
I'm
interesting,
not gonna,
right?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go there. But anyway,
Family's
yeah.
it's like the I often talk about it. You use quantum in your language, Laura. So but I think of it as like
Mm,
quantum physics, where it's like, you know, it's like everything makes sense. We have the theory of relativity and like the macro theme, and then you get small enough, and all of a sudden all those rules go out. And I think about family in a very like similar way. It's like, um, Laurie, what was coming to you? What would you want to add on onto
Well,
that, or what
you
you?
just brought in the quantum, a quantum leap is, it's a quantum leap because we can't see the logic of the step by step by step. That's the linear brain. But we're so much more than the linear. And so, okay, there's issues with asking your sister to do more. So what? You don't have to ask her. But who else? It's just to open the door. It's open the door because you already know, you already
mm,
trust that source is unlimited. Don't, that conversations doesn't need to happen. And I mean, it excites the heck out of me to think who might be out there that would be so drawn to what you're doing and how you're doing it. And you probably have circles that you could put that out in. Like, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Don't have a way to pay. And if you're as inspired as I am to get these kinds of messages out, do you want to play? If I were an illustrator, I'd want to play with you.
yeah, I've been looking for something like that. I haven't found
But
one yet.
this
That's
is
why.
this is the part of
Mm,
like that I love about this here
mm,
because it's like you might put it out there and none of the people you reach out to are going to respond. And then someone
mm,
goes and someone else goes and they see someone's artwork and they're like, wow, that's really cool. I know someone who writes a lot of books. He was actually asking the other day about like an illustrator. Like it's out into the world. It's able to like we're talking about this right now. I don't know if like tomorrow, like or I don't know if like when this thing first gets launched, someone's gonna be like, Chelsea, let's work, let's collaborate, you know? Or
Mhm.
it could be 3 years down the line. They're like, Chelsea, I know you have 250 books right now, but like, can I like help you illustrate going forward? So like there's so much of this that I just enjoy about this conversation, right? Because I think the real thing for
mm,
me, like I could feel myself right now having my podcast hat on versus my coach hat on, right? And my coach hat is saying like you gotta put me in, you gotta put me in, you gotta put me in podcaster. But like it's I think the real thing is just really enjoying how limitless there is. Like there is no cap to this. There it like and to be able to start from the frame of mind of like there really isn't a limit. Whether or not I do it, whether it comes to me right away, I don't have the time. Like I can't own that timing, but there's no reason why it can't happen overall. I just may need to put that in. And that's really speaking to me right here. Like just being in the space of like infinite possibilities. Which one do we want to be able to bring in? And are we able to allow ourselves to let the possibility work itself out in the time frame in which it wants like in which it will work itself out.
Mhm.
All right, I see some big nods from you and anything flowing through. We're gonna wrap up after this one, but like I'm curious.
I'm so in sync with what you're saying. You said it in such a beautiful way, Niyama. And yeah, And then you mentioned timing, which is really important. The timing is also not quite up to us. I mean, we impact it, but if the person who is to be brought in isn't quite ready, well, we got to wait till they're ready. But maybe this is where the nudge comes in, and whether it's listening to this conversation or um, somebody you meet in the coffee shop or somebody that Niyama meets or that I meet tomorrow. And you just know that, oh, I need to introduce you to. And that's how
Amazing.
things happen all the time.
There, I want to share. We're gonna start wrapping up for today, but I'm gonna share a few things that are coming through for me that are different because of this conversation. Right. So these are some of my insights that I'm getting through. Um, there was one based on what you were saying right here that just flew away from me. So I won't be able to speak to that one just yet, but I know that like it's if I've experienced it once, it's still with me. The wiring connection has taken place, so we have that,
Yeah.
right? Um, I am I'm really quite touched by this conversation because right now, at the time of this recording, I'm making my own journey back um, to depth as well as elevation. So like in my mind, I think about things in like in three dimensions of like how high, like how elevated of a conversation, what's the biggest vision we can go for? Let's go like so like how much energy can we put toward this? Let's up level, right? And then there's another part that goes into depth, which is like, all right, let's slow things down, right? If we're gonna get underneath, like what's underneath the surface, what is deepest within us. Right. And over the last probably a year, maybe two, I've been looking to build out like the forward movement. Like, so how do we actually like we can keep up leveling or we can go deep down in there, but like how do we actually bring this out and move forward with it? And this conversation was really helpful for me to tap back into. I've been very forward facing, but it brought me back into like both respect and love and like excitement for the depth and the elevated parts of it. Because I realized I'm like, oh wait, like I really like those conversations I love the most. So that's one. I want to share that. And the second thing here is, Laura, you brought up quantum leaps and linear. And this is the second time that the linear progression has come up in conversations with me today. And for me, it only takes two dots to make a line. And so what I'm experiencing inside for me is like whenever I think forward motion from a linear perspective. Let's look at the inputs, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and you get this output, you know? And perhaps some of the reasons why I don't enjoy the forward motion as much is because I haven't allowed myself to apply the quantum to that space. So I'm opening myself up to that possible because I know the quantum in the other two, but I don't know if I know the quantum forward motion. So I'm grateful for that, and I want to share that as my insight here today. Um, we're going to wrap up with each of us being able to share a way for outliers to continue down the journey with you, as well as an insight that you got from the conversation, if any. All right. If you didn't get an insight or a takeaway, no worries. Just say that we're good. But I think I'd like to wrap up on that. All right. So Chelsea, will come to you, and then Laurie will end off with you. Chelsea, if someone wanted to go deeper in your world, to go check out your books and beyond, what's the best way that they can contact you? And then what is something that you were leaving this conversation with? What's an insight you're leaving this conversation with?
Okay. So most of my books are actually on Amazon. I do have other sites where where they are, but that's the main one. And you were saying about like what to take away from
Yeah,
this.
an insight or a takeaway you got. And if they go on Amazon, can they just look up your name to find the books?
Yes, they should be able to find me that way.
All
I
right,
don't think
perfect.
there's another person with my name that
Okay.
has books. Yeah.
Okay. And if not, just look for the volume, y'all. You'll be good. All right. All right. Like, just like I just mean that very like flatly. Like this is what it is. And yeah, do you
Yeah,
have
oh,
an insight you have from today's conversation?
um, yeah, so I would say basically like Laurie was talking about, being open, and continuously being, um inspired to produce, but at the same time, make sure that you don't burn out. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for that here. Thank you for all that,
Mhm.
Chelsea. Laurie, we'll come to you. What's the best way for any outlier to continue down the journey with you, and what's an insight that you're taking away from this conversation?
Um, I'm in a lot of places, but going over to the BACA Institute, that's BACA Institute, is a great way to find the quantum connection quiz. Lots and lots and lots of writings. My podcast, which is Wisdom Talk Radio. Um, that's enough right there. um, so it's a reinforcement of how important it is to not just push ourselves forward, but to do it with that from that place of being connected, and that it's not an either or place. It's not an up or down or an in or out. That to me is the dance of life, and the power of that just keeps was reinforced again today. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I appreciate all of you. Thank you all for bringing your time, your experience, your the way that you see the world to this conversation. Thanks for living the way that you live, and for coming together and being three people who didn't know each other, being able to create something, a very meaningful and impactful conversation. I'm leaving here with something really meaningful. So, with that being said, outliers, I appreciate you as well. And remember this: until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.